Hi people, welcome back to my channel. This is JaneByDesign. You're welcome back to a new tutorial. So on today's tutorial, I'll be learning how to make a 180 degrees dress and with a princess dart and a bishop collar. I hope you would like this video. If you're new here, if you're just stopping by for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. If you are returning, thank you as well. I appreciate. So on the screen, I have the materials I'll be using. I have the fabric that I'll be working with. I have my rulers. I have my straight ruler. I also have a curve ruler. I have my scissors right there. I also have a couple of markers that I'll be using for this pattern. And with me, I have the patterns that I'll be working with. I'll be using the half scale basic bodice pattern I drafted in my video in my channel. I have a video of that on my channel. I'm going to leave the link in the description box. Okay, and I'll also be using my sleeve pattern as well, so I'll be leaving that on the description box. So the reason why I'm using an already existing pattern is just so that our video will not be too long, and there's no point redrafting a video. There's no point redrafting what we already drafted on this channel. So what you need to do is just find the videos on my description link and watch it. Okay, so these are all the patterns that I'll be using, and let's just get started. The first thing we're working on is the princess seam on the fabric. We're going to be doing just a simple princess seam. So we are going to be doing this on the front part of our pattern. So we're just going to be locating where our apex is, that's our bust point. Then you take your curved ruler and you're going to be connecting that point to meet your waist dart up to the armhole point where you want the curve to run across on your armhole. Okay, so I'm just placing my ruler like so on my screen, and I'm just going to draw out the shape of the armhole princess curve right up until it touches the armhole, just like that. Now after that, I'm going to slash the armhole open so that we can have our armhole princess seam right there. So we are going to be slashing from the armhole to the apex, that's to the bust point. All right, so I'll just go ahead and do that now. And to open up the dart at the armhole, we need to close the dart at the side. Okay, so I'm just going ahead to close my side dart now, so that we can create the armhole for the princess seam for the armhole. Now once you are able to slash open the armhole, you can now go ahead and fold in your side darts, and now we can go ahead and cut out our pattern. So I'm going ahead to cut out the waist dart as well. So this style is just our normal princess seam. That's the classic princess seam. This is not a bustier. This is not the princess seam that has a bustier. I also went ahead to do an extension at the armhole for the side, so that when we join the center front and the side front, the armhole, it doesn't get short. So I extended it by 3/4 of an inch at the armhole part. So this is what it looks like. Now we are going to move over to the collar. Now to do the bishop collar, I have a pattern paper right here, and on the paper we just go ahead and mark a straight line from one edge to the other. I'll just go ahead and just mark a straight line. Ensure that the pattern paper you get, it's really big. Okay, now on the line that I marked, I also went ahead to mark the midpoint of that line. So what we'll do now is to measure the neckline of the back pattern. So you grab your pattern paper, that's your bodice, you measure the back, and whatever the value is, you place it on your paper. And also the front, get the front bodies of your pattern, of your basic bodies, and then you measure what you have on your neck for the front, and whatever the value is, you're going to be using that to draft the collar for this pattern. Now we've gotten the neckline of the front and the back. What we are going to do now is to place this measurement on our paper. So I have the first side as my center front and the other side as the center back. Now for the center front, I am going to put down the value that I got on my center front, and that will be 5.25. So I'll just place 5.25 from the midpoint of that line. Remember, we have a midpoint on our straight line, okay? So from that midpoint, you're going to place the value of what we got for our center front, and we'll also do the same thing for the center back as well. The value we got for the center back, we are going to place it as well from the center line. Now after that, from the center front, okay, we are going to go up by 1 inch, and this will enable us to be able to curve the collar correctly. So from the center front at the edge there, we're going to go up by 1 inch upward, and then we are going to be using our ruler to create the curve that we touch the center line, that is the midpoint of the line that we drew on our paper. So I just use my ruler right here, my curve ruler, to connect the 1 inch that I marked upwards to touch the center line. Now after that, at the center back, we're going to also go up by 1 inch as well, and this will be for the length of the collar. So you need to know how wide you want your collar to be. So for this collar, I want it to be 1 inch, so I marked 1 inch upward from my center back, and then I'm going to connect it back to meet the center line that I marked on my paper. So just watch the way I used my ruler to mark my 1 inch upward, and the line stopped just at the center line. Now moving down to the center front line, okay, we are going to extend the line upward. Now after extending the line upward, we're going to be taking our 1 inch measurement for the collar. So I said the height of my collar is 1 inch. So from that point where we marked 1 inch upward, we are going to be taking the length of our collar. So what you do is to just go ahead and tilt your ruler to an angle of 45 degrees. You're not going to be making it straight. If you leave it on a straight line, your collar might not come out perfectly and it might not lap very well on the neck. So I just go ahead and tilt my ruler the way I just did at an angle of 45 degrees, and I used my curve ruler to reconnect it back to touch the center line that we have on the pattern. So just watch carefully and see the way I connected all of the points together. Now our collar has been formed, and now I'm just going to smoothing it out and make sure that I do not have sharp corners at the top and also at the midpoint. Please note that the center front is on fold, okay? When you're transferring this pattern on your fabric, the center front is going to be on fold. So this is what we have right here. I've connected all the lines, I've created the curve for the collar, and this is what our collar looks like. So the next thing we're going to do after getting all of this curve is to add our sewing allowance to it. I'm going to be adding half an inch sewing allowance all around it, and after that, note, like I said, note that the front is on fold, so you'll not be adding a sewing allowance to that part, but I'll be adding sewing allowance all around it. And after that, we'll be cutting out this pattern. Now we're done with the collar. So this is all of my pieces: the front, the back, the collar, and the sleeve. So I've also gone ahead to place it on my fabric, and I've cut it out. I added half an inch sewing allowance all around them. So first thing we'll do is to assemble the front. Okay, I've removed my patterns now, and this is the front, this is the center front and the side front. Now remember, this is not a bustier, so it won't be that difficult to sew. So what you need to do is to place them on both sides, right side facing each other, and also ensure that you match your notches at the bust line. Okay, so I'm matching my notches, on the bust line and also at the waistline as well. I'll do this for each of the side of this pattern of this fabric. Okay, so after that I will take it to the sewing machine and we are going to run a stitch from the waist upward, and I would recommend that you sew from the waist up. Okay, do not sew from the armhole, it might not align properly. Okay, so moving on to the back, I placed the pattern on my fabric, and now I'm going to take my back dart. So I'll just go ahead and mark my back dart on my fabric. All right, the point where the back dart stopped, I'm just going to mark a point right there on my fabric, and then we are going to go sew in the dart for the back. So I'm going to go run a stitch on the back, each side of the back for the back dart. Okay, so after that, this is what we have. This is what the back looks like after I have joined it together, after I have sewn the dart. Sorry, now what we'll do next is to join the front and the back. So I will place them right sides facing each other. That is after I've sewn in the front dart and the back dart. I'll place them right sides facing each other, and I'll go ahead and pin them up at the shoulder line and also at the sides. So to join these two pieces together, you need to join it at the shoulder line and also at the sides. So this is what we are going to do now. You can see that I have already used my pins to secure the shoulder and also the sides. So what you need to do at this point right now is to just take it to your machine and stitch on the seam allowance, on the sewing allowance you left on your pattern. So at the shoulder line, I'll take 1/2 inch. On the side, I will take 1 inch, and if you have an overlocker, it is also very good to make your work neat and tidy. So after stitching, you can go ahead and now do an overlocking. So now I've joined the two pieces together. This is what they look like. Okay, so this is what our classic princess seam looks like after stitching them both together. Next thing we'll do now is to work on the sleeve. I've taken out my pattern from the sleeve, and this is what we have. So what I'll do now is to close off the sides of the both sleeves, and also I'm going to be hemming the bottom of the sleeve as well. Now the sleeve is done. For the collar right now, I'll be attaching the collar to the dress, and to do that I've ironed an interfacing on one side of the collar, and the part where we don't have an interfacing, I've placed it on the right side of my collar, right sides facing each other, and we are going to take it to the machine to stitch together by 1/2 inch. After stitching them together, we are going to be flipping it to the wrong side. So after you've attached your collar to your dress, to the neckline of your dress, you will now take the side where you have your interfacing, you fold it inwards towards the wrong side of your garment, and you're going to be doing a top stitch on it. So you can go ahead and iron a 1/2 inch sewing allowance at the point where you are going to do a top stitch, so that by the time you take it to the machine, it will easily top stitch. That's what I've done here, and here the collar has been attached. It's looking very clean and beautiful and also relaxed on the neckline. Now the next thing to do is to attach the zipper. So the zipper is going to be running all the way from the collar down to the part where the zipper will stop on the back. So I've done a video on how to sew this zipper. I'll be leaving the link on the description box so that you can know and go watch how to install this type of zipper. This is an open back zipper, so I will leave the link in the description box. Now I'll go ahead and attach my zip. I said the zip will be running all the way from the collar down to where the zip would stop. So this is a zip already attached to the dress, and it's looking very beautiful and gorgeous. Our half circle dress has been completed. Now you can go ahead and test it for fitting to see how you would like yours. If you made yours, let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and put on your notification bell. I will see you guys in my next video. Stay blessed. Bye.